All right, we are live. Okay, it is October 19th, 12:05 p.m. Um, so I am sitting here with Megan O'Kane. Say hello.
Hi.
Yes. So Megan is like we're just discussing like an old childhood like friend. I don't even know how, it's like family friend really, you know. And so like when I lived in Providence, she was our next door neighbors, and my sisters were friends with her and her sister, and there was like another girl, and it was like a hillside gang that was it was called. And anyway, so Megan, how old are you?
I'm 23 now.
Yeah, that's what 23. Yeah, so 6 years older than me. So it's like
Yeah.
really like we're far apart. It just never really occurred to me like you were always just like the kid who like was like friends with Lily and Julia, you know what I mean? Like and I was just like along with the ride. Um,
Yeah, I was like the second oldest of the group. Anna was the oldest, and then
how old
me.
is Anna?
Anna's 24.
Dang. I mean like that's like I was texting you like I was saying, "Oh, a meeting like I'm not an adult, like I don't know how long." It's like 23 is like that's like when you have actual responsibilities. Like people expect a lot of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Like
that's true. I guess 23 is kind of an adult, but I never really feel like an adult. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
kind of
I
like
know exactly what you mean.
or
Like
something.
yeah, I mean, it just do you like you have your own apartment and like you work for yourself? Like what's your life? Like I don't even do you work for yourself?
Yeah, I mostly work for myself. I have a part-time I work part-time in the store where my clothes sell. Like I
Mhm.
have a section in that store. So I work part-time there and I do their buying and also like sell my stuff there. And then the rest of the week I work in my studio in my house, which is right over there. And make my work and do commissions and custom orders and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so for those who don't know, Megan, you're a fashion designer. Is that how? Is that? That is just like that is like the dream when you're a kid. You know, when you go to New York City and be a fashion designer. Man,
Yeah, that was always my dream as a kid. Like ever since I was little, I was always talking about being a fashion designer. And like as a kid, I guess I thought about it like a little bit differently than I do now. I always thought that I would work like for a company or for someone else or something like that. But
right,
as I've gotten older and like going through school, it just really made me learn that like the dream job of fashion designer is not really what you think it is. Like working for a larger company is mostly being at the computer doing flats and specs, and it's less creative than you'd think it would be.
right.
So it just kind of became this natural progression for me to start my own business and to work for myself, and try and like approach fashion, I guess, with a more hands-on sort of like way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you so much was like last week I was talking to this kid. It's gonna come out in like a few days. He's a music producer, and you know he's gonna go to Berkeley or he's NYU. I don't know. Like he is very talented and very into what he does, and it's like me looking to him like he's like a cool kid who is doing these things and like is creative and has his future ahead of him. And like we're talking
Yeah.
about like oh you know and I'm doing this thing and like you know I'm looking at college and everything like my future's ahead of me too. And I look to like once I'm out of college like what am I gonna do like I want you know and like I know I'm the type of kid who's gonna like apply themselves and like work for what I want. But here you are just doing that, which is so like that's so awesome. Like you're doing it and you're like
Thank
making it
you.
happen. And so
Yeah,
like
I feel like when I got out of school too, I kind of had that feeling of like, oh my God, I have to work for someone. I just have to get an office job.
right,
And it honestly like instilled panic in me because I was like, that is not what I want my life to be. That doesn't feel right for me. And I ended up getting like a couple job offers, and I got one as for a baby girl designer for Walmart. And that was just the moment where I had this epiphany and I was like, I can't do this. I need to work for myself. Like I need to make ethical fashion and make it for people and make it myself and not be going down this path I don't want to go down.
right, right. I mean that's like man, it's just like it's like therapy every time I have one of these talks. Like I do them like every week. And it's just like my own personal thing every week. I want to get one done. And every time it's really like last week I talked or just uploaded one with my grandpa, and his perspective is that like, it's always been like your life is ahead of you, it's opening up, and he's just turned 90 and he's very aware that his life is closing up, closing to an end. And it's just like his perspective on life is so much different than yours or mine, you know what I mean? And I feel like that similar, like I want to, the idea of like working in an office and like sitting down for 9 hours, 40 hours a week and just doing shit like that scares me, like I
Yeah.
get scared and I would like feel like a failure if that was me. And it's always been, I've discussed this on the last episodes, so like people that have watched all of them will be like annoyed, but I always say this, like I was scared of that. Like I was, it was like an actual fear of mine. It was becoming like going to my 9 to 5 in my like checkered shirt and like, being an accountant. Like that idea actually scares me. And so
Yeah,
like,
I feel you.
yeah. And so like this right now is like me fulfilling my own like fantasy of like just wanting to do what I want to do. Like I like
Yeah.
making videos, I like talking to people, and this is literally like a mesh of those two. So that is like,
Yeah.
this is like a passion project right now, is that and you're talking about like you just worked for yourself and you're like, oh, you want to just do your own thing. Like that seems like something easier said than done, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's so
No.
many things that go involved with that, and that's like the piece. Like I gotta ask you, did you have this like were you scared to work for yourself? Was it like this big momentous decision? How did that happen?
I think initially it was sort of like I had that moment after I got offered that Walmart job where I just felt so scared and was like, I have to work for myself. So that felt like a momentous decision to me.
Mm-hmm.
But then the rest of it happened slowly. Like I was doing other sort of jobs. I was working at that store doing buying and things like that more full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly I just sort of talked to my bosses, and that they and another one of my friends really encouraged me to just start bringing my work into the store. And then because I was in the store, I was able to talk to people and connect to people and be like, this is my work. My name is Megan O'Kane. I airbrush, I sew, I do all these things, and sort of like build a little bit of a customer base. And
Mm-hmm.
then as my sales started picking up, I cut down my shifts slowly and slowly
Damn.
until the point where now I'm at like 2 or 3 days,
Fuck.
and the rest of the time I'm in my studio. Um, yeah, and now people in the store like know my work. I've People in the neighborhood I live in are starting to like know my work more.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
so
so it
fucking awesome.
yeah, it
I'm getting
started.
chills right now. That's so cool. Like,
Thank you.
and
It's
you
been
know
really
how many?
amazing.
Yeah, like you. What is so crazy to me, or so exciting, is that like I have my college ahead of me. I'm a senior in high school, you know that, and like I'm applying
Yeah.
right now. I'm procrastinating on applying to schools. After
Uh-huh.
this, Mo and I have to go write my finish my college essay and everything.
Yeah.
But like you you're living your life and you're living it like how you want, and that is so special and so valuable, and it's like inspirational. Like it literally like it's just like, man, that is like you're doing what you want. And like,
Yeah. I feel like people are really pressured to just like go on this, especially school, college, office job. Like it's such a path.
right,
And it's also a path of realizing you don't have to do that. And there
right,
are alternatives. And it's not like shameful to not have that kind of job and that like
exactly,
security.
yeah. And a big thing is like I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, and even if they do, they're like, oh, I could never be Megan O'Kane. She's been doing fashion design forever. Like I could never. She wanted to do it since she was a kid. Like people constantly like have these like negative reinforcing thoughts, and if that's
Yeah.
all you have, then you'll never like realize what you could do. And that's like, I mean, I was like during the summer one night, I like had this like a massive epiphany. Like I was like trying to go to bed, and like I realized like, oh my god, like I can do the things that I want to do. There's literally no one stopping me. Like I could just do this. I want to do this like podcast thing. Boop, there you go. Now I can do it.
Yeah.
And it was like just that energy and that like mentality is what has shifted it into it now being a thing. And now I'm like making videos and now I have new perspectives because I talk to different people, and it's like it's a
Yeah.
really good thing. And part of it is like now I feel like I've started it. I just gotta keep going, and like that's what's so exciting. And like you're at that point, like you've been doing it. The starting was back there, and you're like in it now, and that's like what's so like cool to me because you're like living the life of like having done what you needed to do, and now you're like living your dream. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I do feel like that a lot of the time, that I am like living my dream. It's really exciting and awesome, and it makes me want to do it more. Because I
yeah,
feel like even though I've come really far, I'm still just at the precipice of what I'm meant to be doing
yeah,
in like my future. You know what I mean?
and you're only 23. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
true.
it's
And
just
same thing with your podcast. Like the hardest part is just starting, and
oh
then
my
once you
god,
start, you have momentum.
that's the thing. And so like this is I get really preachy. Like that's just like how I'm wired, and I'm always like looking at perspectives and like I don't know, it's just how I am. And but so like in math class, even I'll talk to some kid, and they'll be talking about like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. Like at least you like something. It's like I what like me? You think I don't know. This is just me trying this out. Like what? And it's like
Yeah.
I always assumed that everyone else was more confident in themselves, like knew what they wanted, and like it was like a mental health crisis or not a midlife crisis type of deal, like where I didn't know what I wanted, and so I was like just kind of those things. My advice to people is like, what is something that you always wish you could have done, and like whatever that first thing that pops in your mind, do it. Like literally, the first thing before you even like, well, no, like I couldn't. My parents would be. It's like think about it realistically. Like, why are the things? What are the reasons that are holding you back? It's like, is it external? Or like, what are those external things? Because they might just be you in yourself, like internally saying that it's like someone else. It's like it's a big leap, and it's being able to. For me, it was a big thing, and I'm wondering if you share this. Like, a big thing for me to just be like, screw it. I'm not gonna worry about any like. Someone might hate what I'm doing or think I'm being really lame or someone, oh, he's just doing another podcast, like everyone, like why does he think he's so special? Like I just want to do it because I want to do it, and that was like a big
Yeah.
thing for me. Do you feel that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and also it is hard when people around you are worried about you or doubting you, and you just have to look inside yourself and remember that it's your life. That's like, of course, I feel like at times like my parents have been worried about me and or not understood or whatever,
Yeah,
but it is your life at the end of the day. And if you're faking being happy for other people, it's eventually not going to work out for
right.
you.
That's the thing, and that's like I watched it. Like I remember being like 11 and watching this like YouTube video, and it was like one of those BuzzFeed like 100-year-olds say the things that they regret that they never did in their life, and it was like all these things, and I was like, damn, like that's kind of sad. Like they lived their whole life and they never like people are saying like, oh, my I lived a life someone else wanted for me, and they never felt like fulfilled. And I've been so keen on like being hyper aware of what I want for myself rather than
Yeah.
doing anything someone else. And it's really difficult. I think like a main influence is like parents, you know what I mean? Like certainly like my mom, you know, wants me to go on this certain path, but she also, I assume any like loving parent would want the best for their kid. And I know I'm like a hardworking kid, and like I am dedicated to what I want. So I'm sure she has faith in that, and that's like what you got to have faith in yourself to be able to get the things that you want. Does that make
And
any
also, I
sense?
feel like, yeah, like once you start getting the confidence in what you're doing, even if your parents are nervous or hesitant, they'll come around. Like
Right.
your parents love you and they want to, I feel like most of the times they
Right.
want to support you. Like, of course, I feel like at the beginning, like my parents were nervous or whatever, but now my mom is like very into it, and
That's
she'll
awesome.
like send me blank things for me to airbrush. She loves to like talk about what I make. I send her photos all the time. She's like
Yeah.
one of my biggest supporters now. Like she
Of
loves it.
course. Yeah. I mean, I bet
Yeah.
she's so proud. Like that's
Yeah.
so exciting because you kind of like manifest like what you wanted in life and you went after it. And
And she says that to me too. She's like, I'm so glad you're doing what you love and
yeah,
like
of
not
course.
just doing something else.
Right. And like this is the thing, and it's really, I mean, I'm still young and dumb, so I don't know, but like life seems like if you're just doing the things that you want and like doing those things, the happiness will come and
Mm-hmm.
everything else will follow. Like your life will be good. Like life has a
Yeah.
way of figuring things out if you're doing the things that are right for you. And it really does not make sense to me that people are living a life that they're not happy with and they don't check in with themselves. It seems like people don't like figure to check in with themselves and like realize like, oh snap, I don't like being an accountant at this firm, you know. Um, I don't really know. Like, I
We're
don't know.
not trained intuitive like that.
So we're not trained to be intuitive like that.
Yeah, like from a young age, it's just about doing what you have to do, going to school, doing your homework.
Hmm.
It's not about like how do you feel about doing your homework or how do you
Right.
feel about, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was definitely like being the third kid, the stress, the parents like being like, do your homework and all that was like the most diminished because I was the third. So
Yeah.
I was allowed the opportunity to really contemplate my existence and my hatred for chemistry. You know, in sophomore year, I was like, this sucks. And, you know, I still got my homework done. And,
Yeah.
but I did fantasize about like, this is all so stupid. I should drop out and go live on a farm in Spain and just live my life off the land, the fat of the land. You know, it's like shit like that is classic sophomore year teenage boy angsty stuff. But like
Yes.
my point being is that like I had the opportunity to like really think about myself deeply and like reflect internally. Um,
Yeah.
and that's like the thing. I feel like I've always been a little like wired like that,
Yeah.
thinking about myself in that way. And it's kind of scary that a lot of people aren't like that. I mean, I can't control other people, and but I feel like a lot of people live a life, and people my age is what I'm talking about. Like even everyone is living. It seems like you can pick up a few names in your head right now, like people that are living a life that they're not happy with,
Yeah.
and you're like that person. Like out of all people, like wouldn't they be the ones who are like doing the most and like being what they want to be? And
Yeah.
so it's like realizing that and being able to like be do the things I want. I don't know. I keep talking back in circles, but yeah, that was like a big epiphany. You know, I feel like senior year, COVID, being home for 6 months, kind of lets you
Yeah.
think about yourself.
Yeah,
And
that actually must be very existential.
yeah, the whole COVID experience, like, yeah, I mean,
Also, being in high school would be very different than like what my COVID experience was, for
oh yeah,
example,
oh yeah,
in the
and it's different. You know, it's obviously different for everyone, but going from your junior year to senior year, like knowing this is your last year, but also
yeah.
not being able to. I go to school on every other day now, and
Oh,
there's only like it's only like the last half of the alphabet last names go in, and so like each class there's like only like 7 people, and everyone's like 10 feet away with masks
wow.
on, and the vents are like blasting, so it's like all social life is completely like damaged by that.
Yeah.
So think about it like as like from a 14-year-old, I mean, 14, a teenage boy, you know, who like my social like life is like being diminished in my senior year. It's such like an important time of life, and it's like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not the. It's a global thing, so you gotta like rationalize it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's
but
still like must be hard. You're kind of losing a lot of, and senior year so hyped up too
yeah,
that like you're losing a lot of that like romantic teenage.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, what I've been realizing, because I've been doing, for me, I always like wanted to have that like high school like parties and like be able to hang out with friends. Like I always wanted that, and for some reason, well, I know the reason. I never like did it because I was scared to go to a party, and like I was like scared and like socially anxious, and like that overrode my wanting to go. Um, and within the past few months, I've kind of like looked at that fear and been like, shut up. I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And part of that, doing the things that I want. So I've been hanging out with like the friends that I want to hang out with, enjoying myself, and like I've been having some of the greatest like social experiences that I've had of all of high school. And I was talking to my Mo last night, like I feel like I'm the most alive that I've ever been because I'm doing taking the action to do the things I want. I'm asking those friends like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I'm organizing this, or like trying to fit in the time to do that with these friends, and then also fit in the time to do this and schoolwork. It's like there's so many things going on.
That's
And
great.
yeah, and it's like this whole idea, like, yeah, this like high school is different, senior year is different, but I still am making the most of it, and that's like all you can really ask,
Yeah. I feel like senior year too, it's like, I guess end of junior year and senior year was when I felt like I hit my stride in terms of like being close to my friends and having really good friendships. And you're kind of hitting that point too where you're a little bit more like aware of how to be a good friend, I feel like.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, so I don't know, like senior year I think is really great social time. And with COVID, I guess it gives you the opportunity to prioritize what relationships you really want to develop.
Yeah, and it gives you the opportunity to like have the time to like put the brakes on a little bit and then like
Yeah.
reevaluate what's important.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely like I've been always aware by virtue of like not being the type of kid that goes to the parties my whole entire high school experience. Like I've been aware of like who are my friends and like who real friends are, you know what I mean? Like that whole people like talking about real friends and everything. But I've always been aware of like who is special to me, who do I want to spend my time with. And now I'm just like, but I also want to hang out with more people, and like going to parties is fun. Like that seems fun to me, and I like it, like so it also being able to enjoy myself too. And what's really exciting is that this whole like idea of like self-fulfilling, like manifesting your own doing I could keep talking about what I'm trying to say, but my words are all over the place. But this whole idea of me doing what I want is a relatively new idea, but since then I've been the happiest I've ever been. And like that is like, the most important thing, honestly, is your own happiness in the moment. Anyways, I feel like I'm getting too self-preachy, and I want to like move the conversation forward because I can talk about my own like self, righteousness and stuff like that. But a real reason, like, what's cool is that you've lived in New York City for 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Where in New York City are you?
Right now I live right on the Bushwick Bed-Stuy line in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn? Okay, because I don't know what Bushwick or whatever it is. Like,
they're two neighborhoods. It's like North Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in northern Brooklyn. If you're in Manhattan, you go over the Williamsburg Bridge and you drive straight basically for like 20, 30 minutes.
Wait, because of traffic?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but so I live in Brooklyn, and I've lived here for only my first year. I lived in a dorm freshman year in Manhattan on First Avenue and East 15th Street in the East Village. And then I couldn't do the dorm anymore. I just thought it was honestly kind of like criminal that the school was charging like almost $2,000 a month for me to live in a room where if I put my arms out, I could touch both sides of the wall with another person. It was that small.
Oh my God.
And it was $2,000 a month. And so I just could not do it anymore.
You could touch both walls.
It was so small. Next time you see my parents, ask my parents about dropping me off at college because it was crazy. And they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we have to leave you here."
Oh my.
and I had a weird roommate experience, and it
Yeah.
was just kind of intense. So then that summer, I went on Craigslist and I found this like artist co-op of like 20 people who lived in a floor of an old industrial building.
Mhm.
And I went and visited and I couldn't find anything else. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to try it. Worst case scenario, it's month to month and I'll move out.
Mhm.
And then fast forward like 3.5 years and I lived there the whole time.
Yeah. Damn.
And it was so amazing, honestly. Like most of my closest friends in New York, or like some of them, I met through living there. It was so fun, and like our basement was this like punk music venue, so the stage was like right under my room, and I would hear like the punk music some nights and stuff, and go to those shows, and yeah, it was really amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
then like a year and a half ago, I moved where I live, or maybe 2 years now. I moved where I live now, which is good too. It's like a quieter living experience. I just have one roommate, and we have like a railroad style apartment. So we each have our own like doors, and I have a studio room. So
Mm.
yeah,
And so, what like drew you to New York City?
it's weird because as a kid, I never like we never really went to New York City,
Right.
but I always in my head that I wanted to live there. I think maybe from movies or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
yeah, but I I think I had only been once before, and then the second time I went was for college tours, and then I moved there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. And the first time I went, I just felt like, oh, this is perfect for me. Like, wow, it just feels like very right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I honestly, when I first moved there, I thought like Manhattan was the place for me to live. But since moving to Brooklyn, I really love living in Brooklyn, and I feel like it's a lot easier to like make friends and make a life for yourself here than it is in Manhattan, both like money wise and people's like temperaments or something.
Really, in Brooklyn, it's different like that.
I think so. I
Really, you can
mean,
pick up on that. I would never.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not a New Yorker. Like you're telling me like all the street names. It's like I don't even know. Like, but you can pick up on that.
yeah, I mean, it's just so different. Like in Manhattan, people don't know their neighbors. People don't say hi to you on the street. In Brooklyn, it's more like a little bit neighborhood vibes, or like at the coffee shop, I know the people who make me coffee all the time,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean, or I
Right.
know the people who live down the street from me. You see more people around, and there's like it's like a tighter community.
Right.
Like I know people who go to certain bars all the time or certain restaurants, and yeah, and I don't know, living in that co-op too, I just met so many people that it made the neighborhood feel more like home.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what is exciting about New York City is that everyone is doing their own thing. So you're
Yeah,
surrounded around. You're engulfed in like people just like being motivated by themselves, and that's the way I would like pick up on that and like feed off of that. But also that same thing is people are very like blindsided and are doing what they want, and you know don't say hi to you on the street, and you know don't know their next door neighbors. But like I do appreciate some part of me thinks New York City is really like it's when someone says like what do you think the best city in the world is, people tend to say New York City. You know what I mean? It's like
I would
the
agree with
it's like the city of the world, and like
that.
you're just
Yeah,
you're there. You know what I mean? People dream of living in New York City, and you're in it, and like doing your fashion thing, and living in an apartment, and enjoying your life. Like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. Like,
it is
that's so
really fun.
special.
Like, would you ever move to New York?
I mean, I never say never. Like, I was like looking at schools in New York City. None of them I can get in, but you know, I am looking at cities like primarily. I was looking at UVM, because and how does Lauren like it? Like I've been DMing her and she's been like, yeah, I love it. Have you had
Yeah,
any like
she
talks with her?
really liked it. Also, like three of my best friends from high school went there too. So
Yeah.
during college, I went to like hang out with them
Right.
like twice a year, every year.
Right.
And everyone who goes to UVM seems to really like it. Like it seems really chill and fun, and
Right. And that's
Burlington City.
right. I mean, it's like I went there and it was like just the prettiest like little city ever. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's so
And
cute.
you're so close to nature too,
Right,
and
right, and like that's the
nature
thing.
that's
It's the issue though is that it's like it's like a town rather than a city. You know what I mean?
yeah, city
And
is a little generous, but
right, right, and that's what I want. I want a city because I want to be around like a hub of like things that are going on. Like you said, New York City, you can literally like it's like 2 in the
yeah,
morning, and you're like, oh, I want to go do something. You can just do anything. Everything is open. Everyone's doing something, and that's the thing. But that's why people also hate it because people want to be quiet and like want the they want the nature to be right there in their backyard. And so for me, I want both. And so I've been like looking at schools in Seattle because
yeah.
Seattle is like an amazing city. Um, I don't remember. We went there when I was like 3, so I don't remember at all what it was like. But everyone in my family was like, "Yeah, you would like it." And it's Washington is insanely beautiful. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
part of my big thing, I'm a Boy Scout. Like I love nature. I love hiking, and that's why UVM excites me. That's why Seattle, and it's like so it's like cities, like cool cities. Chicago, DePaul University. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna apply there. I mean, I'm gonna apply to a lot of places. The real thing is where I'm gonna go. And
Yeah.
so that's like the nerve wracking thing. But that is a decision I'll make once I get all the applications, all the money, and then
Yeah.
Um, but
What financial stuff
yeah,
comes in.
was Parsons your like top? Okay, is it? What was this? What's the actual name of the school?
The university is called the New School, but
Okay,
the art college is called Parsons.
okay,
And most people call it Parsons because that's the most known part of the
right.
university.
It's like my sister's friend goes to the new school, but she does the dance program there. So I called it
Okay.
Parsons, and she was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah, people who aren't in Parsons get very offended.
And I was like, "Okay, like my bad."
Yeah,
But
because they're like, oh, other parts of the school matter too.
yeah, she was like, so like when my sisters explained to me like how it's all different. But so you went to the new school, but part of the Parsons College.
Yeah, it's just like all the different topics within a university have names.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Parsons is like the arts one. So we
Mm,
have different buildings for the art programs.
right.
Um, and then there's like a college called Lang for like writing. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
performing arts and jazz. I think those are
Jazz.
most of them.
That's cool. And so
Yeah.
so how was your college experience? Like we've never talked about that. That's a whole important chapter of your life. And like how many kids go to I feel like the population of the school, like the size of the school would affect your experience. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not in college, so I don't know like how the social side of it seems like the most important to
Yeah,
me.
Parsons is like I think Parsons has a pretty unique like social structure
Mm-hmm.
to other schools. Like almost I would say like 70% of the kids who go there are commuters. Like I would be classified as a commuter because I didn't really live on campus. I lived in Brooklyn and I would go back and forth.
Right.
So it's a lot like I think people would say it's not the traditional college experience. Like there
Mm.
aren't like clubs. People don't really like hang out on campus other than like sewing in the workrooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's more of an intense vibe, I think.
Right. That
Yeah,
makes sense to
but
me.
I think thesis is like, or the basically in the fashion program, like your first year, you just do general art. And then the next 2 years is like sewing, pattern making, all that kind of stuff. And then your last year is called thesis and you do your collection. That's like, I think you've probably seen my thesis on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you have basically a whole year for production and development of this like
Damn.
9 look collection. Um,
Wow.
so that year to me made all the other ones worth it. Like I felt like freshman year, I didn't really learn that much. I kind of like left it feeling like I didn't make that many friends. I didn't like it. Should I transfer?
Really?
Didn't do any passion. Yeah, I felt very, and I had had that horrible roommate experience and I didn't like the dorms. It just felt like things weren't going the way I expected. But then sophomore year, when I started to be able to actually do fashion stuff and I was living in the co-op and making friends there, I felt way better. And then by junior year, I had a good group of friends at school and I felt way more like grounded, I guess you would
Stable.
say.
Yeah.
Stable, yeah. And by this time I was like working at the store and I had like a very full life.
Mm.
And then senior year, I did my thesis collection, and that was really intense, but like really amazing. And you kind of structure your own time because art school is very like, we would have like 2 6-hour classes a week, then 2 3 hours, then another one. So it was like these long studio classes where everyone's working together. Um, yeah, so it was amazing. I feel like I grew so much and learned so many skills. A lot of it was honestly more like self teaching, and then the teachers were just kind of there for like critiques or like
Right. Right.
design advice, but
Well,
they weren't really hands on in terms of skills.
right. Right. And that's like because I have two Lily, who's in Boston, who doesn't have that traditional school life because it's in the city,
Yeah,
and then Julia, who's at Carnegie, and she's doing the design program, and it's basically that they were in when she was in school, they had like the studio where they were working together and collaborative, and the teachers were just
yeah,
like suggesting like, oh, go in this way, and I mean, her thing is the school experience is completely like diminished now because that entire like art too. I mean, design is art. It's that you feed off of the other people's. Oh, hey, like, can you take a look at this? And then they help each other and like figure out,
yeah,
how you can improve this. And so that whole aspect is really hard over Zoom.
yeah. I was
So
thinking about it. I don't at Parsons last year too. Like they basically like usually the thesis is a huge deal and we have this runway show and the press covers it and it's like very and
really,
this you present it to this group and there's all these competitions. So over Zoom it was just like some people didn't even finish their collections. It's like how are you supposed to do this?
yeah, yeah.
I
That's
can't even imagine. Yeah.
that's like the scary thing, and I mean, some part of me always thinks about who got most screwed during COVID, like who really got it the worst. And a big part of me, because I'm biased, wants to say like the high school juniors to seniors got robbed from their senior experience, but also like college seniors who like graduated. Oh my God, like their life, the next chapter in their life of real life was like there was like if they were walking, their next step was like a complete failure. Like
Yeah.
it was like boom, here's COVID. Um, so
Yeah.
that's like a scary thing and definitely like a serious thing that people I think is going to affect like this generation and like the new generation of new workers and then it's kind of weird to think about that and like actually be aware of that.
Yeah.
But like, what made you stay in New York City in Parsons? You're saying your freshman year, like you really wanted to go. Like, what was the thing that made you stay?
I think I just kept telling myself that like this is what I'm good at in life and it's the thing that I'm best at and the thing that I'm most passionate about and I need to just fully give it a chance for myself.
Mm,
Like I said I had always wanted to go to Parsons. One like rough transition year doesn't mean that I should just give it up. I need to just give it a little bit more of a shot.
yeah,
And also like what else to me that was what I was meant to do and I just needed to give it another shot. And I also know myself as a person and that like changes are and transitions are hard for me. Like I take a longer time sometimes to like make friends or to get used to a move and things like that. So usually that first year for me is rough. And then I pull through it. You know what I mean?
that's awesome. And like I feel like that's really important because I don't know that about myself yet. I haven't had to have a transition like that. And
Yeah.
what a lot of people do is like, they prejudge that transition will be so difficult that they could never do it, and then they never challenge themselves like that, and then just like go to URI or something like that. And these are the reasons. For that exact reason is why I don't want to go to URI, is because I want to not be surrounded by people that are scared of like change and don't believe in themselves. Like I want to be around people that are taking that like leap of faith, and that's why I kind of want to go to like Chicago or Seattle or, I mean, Boulder is like still a state school, but it's far from me. You know what I mean? That's like a whole new, like I want to try something new, and I'm
I
certain I
think
would.
that's great because it's one of the only times in your life where you have that opportunity to be like, to make a daring decision like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's, and
Exactly.
have people be like, yes, it's good. Like it's a rare time. And
Right.
also if you go somewhere where you're not comfortable, it will push you to do more things. That's how I felt. And that's also being in a city, you get more used to people who work freelance, who have their own businesses, who do their own thing. Like in Rhode Island, if I had stayed there, I never would have, it probably never would have even occurred to me that I could have my own brand or make my own.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It would
And
have
I
been
know
like,
exactly
oh,
what you mean.
work somewhere.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what doesn't make sense to me is that kids all around are like, why are you stressing out about school? Like, just go to URI. Like, it's not even that big of a deal. And it's like, you're literally proving the point why I should go away. Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to just not worry about it. Like, this is the most. It seems like the most important decision yet in my life. You know.
I mean, that's a good pressure, but it probably is one of the most important decisions so far in your life.
Right, right. So far, that big so far.
So far.
Yeah. And so what's cool is that like, or it's interesting is my like one of my best friends is, you know, destined for Brown. Like he will get in, and he can get into like pretty much any Ivy League he wants to. So he's, you know, crazy GPA, off the charts SATs. You know what I mean? Just so smart and quick. And you know his whole family went to Brown, so he's, you know, that's his thing. Since I've known him since like 6th grade, he's always wanted to go to Brown, and you know, he's never like smoked before because he doesn't want to like screw up his chances of going to Brown. You know what I mean? And the thing is, he could literally go anywhere. He could go anywhere he wants. He could just say, "Oh, I want to go to this place in this country." He will be able to go, and some part of me, and this is a really like strange feeling, is some part of me is like, like you could go anywhere, and you're just going like 30 minutes downtown in Providence, and it's like you could go anywhere, man. I wish I had that opportunity, and but the thing is, it's not like Brown is a bad school or like Providence is a lame city. Like, you know, you'll have an amazing experience there. But some part of me is still like, damn, like you could go anywhere, start anything for yourself. And this is what I think a lot of people don't realize that. Or if they do, like they don't really like have that faith in themselves. Which is,
yeah, it's true.
Is that like a product? Some part of me, we're both from Rhode Island. Like, is that a product of Rhode Island, or is that just everyone's like every state, every like suburbia is like that?
I mean, I feel like everywhere is like that to an extent, but Rhode Island is very like you're born, you live, and you die in Rhode Island. I feel
Yeah.
like it has that energy, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you are in New York City, where like isn't everyone from outside of New York City? You know what I mean? It's like L.A. No one's from actually L.A.
Yeah. I mean, some people are from New York, but like
This is true. This is true.
even when I say Rhode Island, half the time people don't know what I'm talking about.
Think Long Island.
They think I'm saying Long Island.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing.
And then even when I explain, they don't know what Rhode Island is.
Yeah, it's it's like when we went cross country on our trips, we would always say Rhode Island. They're like, "Oh yeah, Long Island, I know that," and it's close enough, so it's like the right idea. But it's just some part of me thinks you grew up in Barrington, me North Kingstown, like they're both like suburbia. You know what I mean? And I feel like we have come from a place of so much like potential, and like opportunity. Like our parents are supportive. We come from good homes, good schools with teachers that are working hard, and it seems
Uh-huh.
so unbelievably foolish to like not first not realize that, and then second not take advantage of that. Um, like people would kill to have the opportunities that kids like us had, and it just seems so like you're going against it. You're like peeing on the idea of having like these opportunities. Like you were born into this and you're not taking advantage of it, and it doesn't make sense. It seems like common sense to me, but common sense
Yeah.
isn't common.
But maybe they're also like not seeing it or not seeing it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is true. Like this is, one of the things is I feel like I'm very judgmental of people, and I'm like trying to like curtail that. I'm going to therapy now and everything. Like, and I'm talking to people too.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm working on it, and
Yeah.
but that's the thing. I feel like I'm so like hyper critical of myself, and that kind of
Mhm.
naturally translates to other people, to a fault. You know, to a fault where my friend who's going to Brown, I will still be able to pick up on things that I think he's not taking advantage of. It's like I, it's to a fault, but it also like ignites me and like makes me want to like push for the things I want. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why like I've been saying it a bajillion times. Like I'm excited to start my life, go to college, and like start the new chapter in my life. And
Yeah.
did you have that like feeling of like eager to start something when you're a senior in high school?
Very much.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, I was so excited to like move and start my life.
Right.
It just feels like by the end of living at home and stuff, you just in your mind you feel like an adult and you feel ready and you feel excited.
Mm.
But it almost I don't know, I felt like I was like penned in or something and I just
Yeah.
wanted to go
Yeah.
do things and be myself.
Right. And it's different for a lot of people because everyone has a different high school experience. And I was just talking to this girl the other night, and she's got a lot of friends, always been partying and stuff like that. So when you're a lonely high school student, you like envy that type of person. Like when you're home alone on the Friday night, you envy the type of person. Anyways, like her perspective was rather than being excited for the new chapter, like she was like, I'm gonna be so sad when high school ends. Like I
Oh,
will be so devastated. I won't be able to see my friends ever again. It's like what? Like
I didn't
you
have that feeling.
yeah, it's like if you want to see your friends, like you'll make time, like you'll make that happen. Like I'm sure I'll make that happen for myself. And
Yeah.
it's like that then calms that fear, but like for me feeling like adult is maybe I wouldn't maybe say that for myself personally. Like I still feel very like I don't feel 17. I don't feel like I'm a senior. I still feel like I'm like a sophomore, like a little kid. But I guess here I am. I'm applying to schools already. You know what I mean? It just seems like boom, now I'm here. But I definitely feel like I'm ready to step into those responsibilities, and I'm ready
Yeah.
like to take my life in the right direction. And also it goes around with like being able to like what kind of like household you were in. Like sometimes like my dad will piss me off, and I'm like, damn, like I'm ready to go to school. Like you know what I mean? It's like, and that's I think is a really important thing to create that distance. Once you're 18,
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
is a really important thing. Um,
Yeah. I
and I
think also like talking to my friends too, in my experience, by the time that you're about to move out of the house, you and your parents are at such odds that it's better for both of you for the child to go to college.
mm,
And it might be like a biological thing, like you
right.
guys are preparing each other to not be with each other.
Mm,
But like at least for me, like we were at such odds that I just needed to be able to have the freedom to do my own thing.
right. Right. And I mean, some part of that it could be sad to think of like, oh, like I need my space, like it will literally like I need this, but I mean that's what you need to like grow, like that's what needed to happen. And you know when Lily went away to college, like I made me realize like damn, like I love her, but she's a very bad roommate, and that's why I got pissed off like 99% of the time. You know what I mean? That was simply that. So that now I only get pissed off 1% of the time, which makes our whole experience so much better.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you're able to like kind of separate yourself from the everyday mishigas and kind of see what the big picture, like the actual important things that are actually wrong, and then you can address those.
Yeah,
I feel like
for
it's a very
sure.
positive thing going away and really creating that distance. And the big thing, a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, you should go to URI. Like, you don't want to have to worry about the social aspect. Like, you want your friends to be at home, so you like don't need to make new friends. So then you don't need to worry about it." And I'm like what? I'm like,
I
what are
mean,
you?
your high school friends will all like me. I'm still very close with my close high school
Yeah,
friends.
exactly.
They're very much still a part of my life, and actually, some of them have post college moved to New York.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I feel like you. It's not like your high school relationships are gonna end. People
That's
shouldn't
what
think
I'm
of it like
saying, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and if it's really
they're
an
gonna grow.
important, right? Like, it's not just like boom, it's done. Like, if it's important to keep, keep it going, it will keep
Yeah,
going. It will make itself happen. Um, and like it just makes really very little sense to me that people don't realize that. And if it's something so
yeah.
special to you, you will make it like happen, and you can take comfort in that feeling. Um,
And think about how important your high school friends are to you. Like in college, you have the opportunity to make those kind of friendships all over again and have double the amount of close friends. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Well, it's like a
Meet
whole
people
new.
in your major or in your, you know what I mean, in your specialty.
It's like you have friends that are curtailed to your like, interests. It's like already
Yeah,
predetermined. I mean, that's why I feel like so many you have lifelong friends from college because college is that select group of people. Um,
yeah,
and that's what's so scary. And I feel like I'm not the only like high school senior that shares this thought that I know I want to go to college and like find my crowd. And everyone says like, oh, you'll find your crowd anywhere. It's like, yeah, I'm sure I will. Like, I am, I'm sure I'll love wherever I go. But I want to find like the best crowd for myself and like
yeah.
find the best fit. Um, and that's what's scary, and that's what's like the issue, um, for me at least, is like finding that. Did you, when you were applying, worry about finding like the best crowd for yourself, or were you just like, oh, this seems like a school I would like, let me go here, where you're not even worried about the social aspect?
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about the social aspect as much as I think I should have, honestly. I just was very like laser focused on like the applying to the best fashion schools. And I guess I just assumed that if other people were into fashion, we would get along.
Yeah, that's true.
We actually, I mean, ended up not being that true. There's a lot of different type of fashion people. There's like very pretentious fashion people. There's a lot of different types, and it's funny because a lot of times like aesthetic groups would group together like all
Yeah.
my good friends from college, we all kind of have similar like temperaments, and then our work kind of has like some similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really have any friends who are like minimalist designers, like
Right.
black and white. You know what I
Right. I mean,
mean?
I can
It's
see you. People that don't know you don't know what your like style is, but you have a poster in the background. You can basically tell like what your style is. You know what I mean? Your hair color. You know what I mean? Your
yeah,
glasses. People can pick up on what you're like. Um, and I just think the social aspect though comes naturally, um, and some part of me is like scared to like force it and like handpick the school that I think I'll have the best friends, because you never
yeah,
know, and I might have such high expectations, but this is just part of the thinking, the whole process. It's like such a difficult thing to try to like want to be present in the moment and enjoy my time now,
yeah,
but also like you have to think about the future. Right now, I have to think about the future.
yeah.
I gotta ask you, like, do you feel? I feel like this is the most important time to think about the future, the most appropriate time to think about the future than any other time in your life, honestly. Like Would you agree? I maybe if you're about to have a kid, you would think about your future. I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like this seems like I'm trying to like meditate and like be more present.
Yeah.
But like it's very hard because right now I have to think about my future.
Yeah. I think for me, the other part was like, okay, the biggest part was the program and the city. I really wanted to live in the city. I mean, like, I lived in Providence until I was 11,
Mm-hmm.
and that move from Providence to Barrington was really hard for me. And I just remember feeling so much happier living, like, Providence is a very small city, but living in the city.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I lived in the city again, I would like, I love that energy. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think,
that's exactly like what I pick up on from the city. The
yeah.
energy.
So that was the most important part of it to me. And honestly, I, looking back, would stick with that. Like after school, a lot of people moved to different cities or moved away or moved home, and I stayed here because now this feels like my home. So
That's awesome.
I think one way to approach it could be like, where do you see yourself long term living?
Mm.
If
Yeah.
you can think about it that way.
Right.
That's how I did.
And it's like a lot of times I always think back, like personally, like my answer, like a lot of times I think back to like Seattle, because Seattle just
Mhm.
I fantasize about it, but it's like I don't really know anything about Seattle. Like I haven't been there since I was like 3, so part of me is like, bullshit. I don't know what it's like. So it's like I second guess myself there, and
Yeah.
it seems really crazy to make such a big decision and be like, yeah, I want to go here. I'm in the middle of sorry, like, and it just seems so crazy to like be sure on a 4-year track and like be certain in it. And
Yeah. Do you think if you got like, you could see where you get in and then maybe consider like saving up for a trip or something?
yeah, I mean that's definitely an idea. I feel like that would be important. And when we went on our cross country 2016 trip, you can see Fatna in the background.
I know.
Yeah,
Hail,
and
oh my god.
yeah, and oh look, he's perfectly laying down in the frame of the camera shot.
He's a
Um,
ham, he wants the attention.
yeah, exactly. But it's just like such a crazy time because any opinion I make on school just seems so like I can't settle on it and be sure about it.
Yeah.
Ah, man, I could keep
What
talking.
programs in it?
Well,
Like what major?
I'm not 100% certain. It changes day by day, but the more and more I think about it, I feel like I would be really drawn to psychology. Um,
Hmm.
it makes sense to me, and then
Yeah.
again, like, same response about doing this podcast. Like, being a psychology majors are the most acclaimed major in the country. It's the most popular
Yeah.
major, and I don't want to just like be part of like the whole like everyone just doing it because it's popular. But then again, I would want to do it because I want to do it. Like I'm doing it for the
You
right
don't
reasons.
deny yourself doing it because it's popular.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly.
I could definitely see that being a strong like path for you.
Right, and people are like, oh, I love talking. Oh, you should be like a counselor. But right now, I have enough problems to deal with for myself that I probably couldn't help someone else. I am 17 though, so that might change. But like, I definitely like. I've always loved science and like research psychology seems fascinating to me. And
Yeah.
right now, I'm in AP Psych because I knew these things about myself. And I'm like 3-4 chapters in of our intro AP Psych book, and I'm like loving it, and I'm like eating it up, and I like every conversation I have, it seems to like relate back to some psychology term I learned the day before, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so I think I mean I like it a lot, and I probably will like go that way, and just try like I want to go to school to have the opportunity to just like try things out. Um, that's like my main thing, like just experimenting. And I think you were talking about like you wanted to commit to staying in Parsons, like that is something that's really important. Is like, oh my God, Julia keeps trying to get in touch with me. Um, sorry, like I think
That's
that
okay.
whole commitment is like really important, and I feel like a lot of kids. Hang on, hang
And
on.
oh, also you have to listen to this. You have to listen to this podcast. It's called Psychology in Seattle.
Oh my. Okay.
And
That
it's
sounds.
by the guy who I love. His name is Kirk Honda, and he's like the best marriage and family therapist ever, from what I see. And
Yeah.
he has both a YouTube channel and a podcast where he talks every week. People send in emails, and he'll like
Oh
go
my
through
god.
it all.
I'll check that out right after this.
It's so good. I'm obsessed with it. I listen to it all the time.
Like, hang on, my hair is like goofy, but yeah. I mean, it's that sounds amazing. That sounds like right up my alley, like psychology in Seattle. Um,
Yeah, I know. I just thought of it. I was like, oh my
yeah,
god, you need to hear this.
yeah. That's the thing. Like, I love like I eat up that content. Like I eat up podcasts
Yeah.
and everything. What? I'm in the middle of like a
Hi.
show. Come in. Talking about school? We're talking about.
Hey!
We're in the middle of a show.
Hi.
Julia,
How's it going?
this is gonna be.
Wow, look at your
I
charming
can't hear
bangs.
you, but
She can't.
you look
Oh.
radiant.
Wait. Can we put the headphones on? Megan, I won't be able to hear you from now on, but you can talk to.
Okay.
Hi.
I said, look at your charming bangs. You're
Thank
looking
you,
so
thank you.
hot.
Thank you. Girl
Oh
next
my god,
door.
how is it?
Bangs or life?
Both.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Kind of crazy. Quarantine is weird.
Jonah's phone is blowing up.
Wow, he's just too popular for his own good.
I know.
Are you in New York still?
Hmm. Yeah.
Has it been weird lately?
Yes, it's very weird here because like okay, first everyone moved out and left in a panic because they thought the city was gonna like shut down and stuff. So at first it was a ghost town, and then some people moved back, but it's still like very weird. Half people are here, half people are not, and everything's so on top of each other here that it's like you can't really fully social distance. You know what I mean? So, and then some people are completely back to normal life. Some people are still quarantining. It's very like weird navigating it.
Yeah, that's so strange.
Yeah,
Well, best of luck. I hope there isn't any like second wave.
I know. I
That's
know.
scary.
I wonder if the winter there will be.
Yeah. Only time will tell. Well,
Are you online schooling?
yeah, it's been really brutal emotionally. Um, and it's only gonna get worse, I think, as it gets even more depressing out in the winter.
I
Outside.
know.
Yeah.
It's more depressing.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. but
I
yeah,
was
it's been
thinking,
okay.
Jonah, I don't know how you do art school in a Zoom. It's
Oh my
ridiculous.
God. I literally had a class last semester that was about 3D form, and we were holding up these like things we had to sculpt and like care so much about like the craft of to the freaking zoom lens, and they would screenshot it, then import it into Photoshop, share their screen as they would mark it up to like show what they thought of it, and it would take like
Oh my
10 minutes to
God.
make a simple point that would have taken like 2 seconds in person. It was so
That's so
horrible.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like weird complaining about it because I am like studying like arts and crafts, basically is what it sounds like. But like I feel really bad for like nursing majors who like they actually have like real consequences, you know, for not getting hands on. But I feel like it's still hard. It's still really hard.
No, it's still really hard, and you're still like paying to have this expensive learning experience that's not going
Yeah.
the most conducive way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of bummed, but it'll get better hopefully.
I hope so.
Okay, I should let you get back to your talk, but it was nice to say hi.
Nice to
Toodaloo.
see you. I miss you guys.
Miss you too. Bye bye.
Bye.
You want it from me?
Yeah, we have French toast and we saved you a piece. Do you want it, or do you want me?
I'll have it after.
I'll leave it for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
She says bye. Nice. A great
Nice.
cheeky little interruption.
I know.
Yeah. No, she's like going crazy because of school. It's like insane.
For the school?
For school, I mean, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
such insane program that she's in. And man, she put on her Instagram like how much work besides just class, like she takes 6 classes. She had 51 hours of schoolwork this week. 51
Yeah.
hours. On top of already like going to class, and 51 hours is like more than a full-time job, and people just do one of those. And she's like literally going to class, and it's like is such an insane workload. It's just
It's
like part of her
crazy.
program. Yeah, and it's like people in our program, like when you get out after 4 years, like the median income is like really, really strong. And that's like what she's going there for like $7,000 a year, so it's like nothing. Um, but it's still insane, and it's still like probably not healthy for a growing, 20 year old. You know what I mean? Like that's what my issue is. Like I get very little sleep, less sleep than I would like. I want like 6 hours. I mean, I want like 8 or 9 hours of sleep a night, but I get like 5 to 6, and like I always think about like I'm like I'm a growing boy. Like I need my sleep to like I'm probably gonna be like deformed when I'm like not growing. You know what I mean? I swear to God.
Yeah, well, you should try and get more sleep.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like, what time? I went to bed at like 2 last night.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I was doing anything. I was just like was supposed to do my homework. So like I was like planning out my day, and I was like, all right, well I'm talking to Megan at from 12 to 2, right? So let me like plan out my homework so I can do that. And I just like procrastinated, didn't do any of my homework. You know what I mean? Like I made like this intricate like spliced this Photoshop picture so I could put it on my Instagram so it could look cool on my Instagram. You know what I mean? Like that's what I did rather than do my homework. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Do you schedule your days to become like to be productive?
Um, Not rigidly. No, I kind of go with the flow, but I usually do like start working right when I wait. Like even before I do anything, I just touch a project so that it started.
Yeah.
Yeah, like before I have coffee or anything, I'll start a project just so I like am in the motion of it. Because I feel like if I don't do that initially, it's harder to start later.
Yeah.
Because I know like I work better from the not late at night, basically. Like
Yeah.
fashion school was like working all the time in the middle of the night, staying up all night. And now I think I work better like 8 a.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. And then I start to get
Fuck.
those hours after that is not good. So, but I am kind of like flexible on like I don't when I take a lunch break or whatever.
Yeah, because part of like working for yourself now is you have to be self-disciplined, and that's like the thing I don't have. Um, I've been because I'm like trying to make more videos. Like I like that, and I want to like, pursue that more.
Yeah.
So one of the videos I'm actively making is like meditate 30 minutes a day for 30 days, and I this is like my last week, and I haven't missed a day, and I've never had like mental discipline like that, self-discipline like that ever before. And I think the reason is because I'm like making it for a video, and like I'm dedicated to doing that. But like outside of that, I don't know how I could like motivate myself to get up and like do my math homework that I hate so much. You know what I mean? Like I seriously, it is a oh my God, like it is one of the most difficult things. I don't know, like people must realize like how actually difficult and like how much that should be praised is if you can like wrap your head around that and just do it, like just doing
I
the work.
think the difference too is like with me, I feel so much pressure. I mean, it's the thing I love so much. So it's a lot, math homework would be harder because if you don't care about it. But this has such a direct impact on my life.
Yeah.
Like it's also attached to my like earnings, being able to support myself, pay my rent, all that kind of stuff. So that
Right.
puts a fire under your butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that helps. And then also just like, I feel so much pressure to keep going as fast as I can to try and gain momentum.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the thing,
Like
like gaining momentum.
if right now things are selling, I need to be making twice the thing so that they'll keep selling. That's how I feel.
So in that aspect, you're still like pushing yourself. Would you say you're like pushing yourself in the same way that you were when you first started? Does that make sense?
In a different way. I mean, when I first started, do you mean like in college?
When like right now, I'm just starting this talk show idea. I kind of foresee myself doing it for much longer. I love talking to people, but I just wonder like how it might my mentality towards it might change and shift and morph over time. Um,
Yeah.
and like that idea, like, oh, like right now I'm trying to be consistent with my content that I put out, because I know like consistency first off is like the first to like look back and be like, look, I was consistent. This is what I did. Like, look how many things I have there. I want to be able to like in the future be able to point at something that I did consistently and like had a project. But then like a lot of the consistency also makes me like I'd rather edit the video and have more time and like make it a little bit better, but I just want to get it out because I want to just like not be a perfectionist and actually have the job done, you know? So it's like a conflicting ideas right there. But that's another thing. Like the whole idea, like you want to produce something, but you also want it to be good and special and like proud. Like you want to be proud of it, and
Yeah.
it's really hard. Like I'm a perfectionist. Like I will work on something forever. Like I will just keep working. Oh, I want to add this. Like, oh yeah, and a big part of me wants to keep going, like keep making it better. Like I'm like, oh no, this is not good enough. But I'm realizing then I'll make nothing. Then I'll have no final product, and people then won't see any of that. No one will see any of that like hard work that I did. So I need to be like, nope, I need to put this out.
Yeah. I think it is a matter of practice finding out what your line is. I think in college I was more like that too, where I would just go on and on and on with a project and never be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the one way that I kind of learned that other people are never as critical as you are is selling myself in the
Exactly.
store and hearing people talk about it as if it's amazing, when in my heart I was like, I'm nervous to put this out. I just
Right.
want to take off, something like that. They would never notice. They don't care. They love it. It doesn't matter.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. The one with my grandpa, I was like nervous to upload because I didn't think that was that great of a episode. I honestly like didn't really want to put it out, but I just knew that, you know what, I am my own worst critic. You know,
Yeah.
I need to put this out. And sure enough, people in class at school, like people DM me and like be like, hey man, like that was really good, like keep it up, you know. And it's like, oh my god, like I was going to keep doing it for myself, but when there's another person telling me, like, oh my god, that's like so that multiplies every emotion by like 100. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
makes you keep going and keep doing it, and then realizing once the next step, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, but you realize like, oh yeah, I should still keep going and still like put out this clothing item. I don't really know what you people in the business say. Like, what do you know, like I say upload a video. People like, you know, they post music or whatever. I don't know. But it's like such an important thing to be able to like realize that you're your own worst critic.
Yeah. No,
Because
100%. And the only way that you can like get over that, I mean, I still struggle all the time. I'm very like hard on myself about a lot of things, but sometimes it's just like I tell myself like you need to get over it and just like take a deep breath and keep going,
yeah,
because the only way you're going to get better to a point where you don't think that way about yourself is just to keep doing it.
exactly. And that's like the really powerful thing. Have you felt like you're good at what you're doing now?
Way more than I used to. I still like have moments of like, I'm scared or
Yeah.
something, but way more than I used to. I am very confident and like will proudly show people my stuff.
Mm,
I mean, I sell my work now. I used to be scared to sell my work because I thought no one would buy it, or they wouldn't like it or something like
right.
that. But now I realize that if you put it out there, people are going to like it and support you and be into it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If I upload my videos on YouTube, and this is okay. So this is like a really big thing in my head. Um, I do not want to be clouded. My creative like vision and like excitement. I don't want to be clouded by like the prospect, like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be famous on YouTube, because like that's what everyone
Yeah.
thinks of. You know what I mean? And I am like constantly reminding myself that I am doing it for me, and that's why I'm doing it, and that's the only reason why I should keep doing it. I am not expecting anything from it. I just want to keep doing it. I like it. Um,
Yeah.
was part of your drive like you wanted to like be successful as a fashion designer, or was it purely because you wanted it for yourself?
I mean, the way that I deem myself to be successful is if I'm supporting myself with it.
Dang, that's a
And
good. I've never heard that. That's like a really good measurement. That's a good
yeah,
measurement.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's like in fashion school too, it's so like, who's the next big thing? Who's the next big designer? And
Mm.
it's like, I just don't think it's healthy to think like that. And honestly, it doesn't work like that for most people. Like,
Right.
I think I just have to have realistic and like healthy expectations for myself. I mean, if it happens like that, that would be cool and great. But like for me, I just want my life to be centered around my work and to be supporting myself with my work and be focused on that and always in like a growing space.
Right. And
And
uh,
that would be successful for me.
yeah, and so this is like a big thing that's always on my mind is everyone wants to be successful, but then you think, hang on, what is success? And
Yeah.
it's really freaking easy to be like, oh, success is money, because money, there's numbers, there's physical paper that goes along with that. But everybody that has a lot of money always says that is not what makes you successful. It's what,
Yeah.
like, happiness is what makes you successful. And if everyone's saying it, then like, wouldn't you have to believe it's true? You know what I mean? Like, it's the happiness that makes you successful. So I feel like there's two paths of like success being financial and success being happiness,
Yeah.
and it's really like I think the idea like you just want to be able to support yourself, that is like the healthiest thing on the financial aspect. Like everyone of course like wants a Lamborghini and like a rocket ship to go fly to Mars, but like who the frick can ever have a Lamborghini? You know what I mean? Like that's not
Yeah.
a healthy expectation of yourself. But I think a really healthy expectation is just to be able to support yourself, and
Yeah.
that it will keep you happy and up, like keep you going and keep you motivated. Uh, and expecting like you just try your best and your hardest, and then whatever comes from that, you'll be like proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this the whole idea of you being able to really like put out your work too is like that's a really important. You know, you're building your confidence in your work is such like a important thing to like step back and realize like you've made it to that point. You know what I mean? Have you ever
Yeah.
like have you ever stopped and realized like where like your position and like slow down and like realize like okay like look at me.
I try to. I try to. And sometimes it's like crazy. I don't know, like one of my pieces was just on the cover of this like big magazine that's going to be in
Yeah,
stores.
yeah, I
Yeah.
DM'd you about that. Yeah,
And those kind of moments are the moments where I'm like, oh wow, like 15-year-old me would be really proud of myself right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so those kind of moments I do realize. And the rest of it is like you get sometimes I get stuck in the minutia of like I need to finish this, I need to price this, I need to whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I try and like be present and grateful and remember stuff.
Is there any particular way you do that, like be present and be grateful, or just to remind yourself?
Hmm. I guess I remind myself and maybe I like talk to someone that I know like loves me and supports my work about
Mm-hmm.
it and like commiserate with them, I guess, about it.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good way, like sharing your happiness with people,
Mm.
or talking about it just to make it real. Because sometimes if you don't talk about things, they don't feel real. It just feels like an idea in your head or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that would be the best way. Um, and maybe like do some self care stuff or something like that, like
Right.
treat myself.
Yeah. And it's just so wild. Like this whole like you're talking about work and everything. Like you want your life to be your work, and a lot of times that's a negative thing. A lot of times people's work is their life, but when your work is something that you want to do,
Yeah.
you're living. You know what I mean? I'm a teenage boy, so I listen to Joe Rogan podcast, and he was having this guy on, and they were talking about they're saying like both very financially successful guys doing what they love, and they were saying like
Uh-huh.
yeah man like it doesn't even feel like work like I just wake up in the morning and I do what I want to do and like I get paid for it, and then the other guy was like there should be a word for that, and no one they like was just like drawing a blank, and you like scrolled in the comments and someone was like, there is a word for it, it's called living. And I was like, it was like an epiphany. But it's like, it's kind of right, like it's kind of like a good point,
Yeah.
like that comment that they, it was like they're living their life, and it's like living how they want it. And this is what I'm constantly like going back to and reminding myself is like what I envy in other people is not envy, I shouldn't say, but what I love in other people and like pick up on is if they're living their own life the way they want it. And I feel like
Yeah.
and like that seems way easier. Like, oh yeah, of course people are living their life and what they want. It's like, oh my god, dude, so many people are not.
No,
So
it's
many
true.
people are not. They're just like saying like, oh yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So many people, it just doesn't make sense. Um, but it goes back to like maybe they've never thought of it and realized.
Yeah.
Would
And I guess like everyone takes pressure differently too. Like some people, if their family's pressuring them to do a certain thing, like they'll just take that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? They
right,
don't think other opportunities exist.
right, and or it's sad to me because if there's someone who wishes they were became like a fashion designer in New York City when they're 15, I'm certain there's kids in my grade at my school that wish they had that, and they probably just they might watch this and be like, oh well, I would never be able to do that. It's like the only reason why you can't is because you're telling yourself that. Have you
Yeah.
ever like was there ever like this like negative reinforcing dots, or you're like focused on getting what you wanted, and you believed that you could get it, and that's why you're here?
I think part of like the time where I was talking about how my freshman year was kind of rough and I was doubting if I
Mm-hmm.
should go to Parsons or if I should whatever. Part of that was like I still haven't perfected my sewing. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I didn't even learn anything I need to learn this year, and I'm just wasting my time and my money. So those kind of thoughts like did creep in then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it kind of did reflect on myself, and I was thinking like, why am I doing this? It's a stupid like that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then I'm already here. I'm like halfway there. I am in New York City. I have started. I just
Yeah.
need to keep going, and it's gonna catch up. Like it has to catch up.
Yeah. And so like being like putting your faith in that idea that it's gonna happen is what kept you
And
going.
trusting your instincts too, because I think like for me to have always wanted this, to always be creative, to always be into dressing and fashion and
Yeah.
everything, and to have applied to only art schools, to have moved to New York City, like there's a lot of instincts that had to go on inside myself for that to happen. And I don't think it's a mistake.
Mm.
Trust your gut. Like whatever you feel inside that you should be doing, it's not gonna like come immediately. You're
Right.
probably gonna doubt yourself, and then you're just gonna have to be like, oh wait, there must be a reason that I always wanted to do this.
Exactly. And my grandpa, it was like kind of elegant the way he says it, and like you gravitate towards the things that you're interested in,
It's
and
true.
this is the things like you can connect the dots. He's at the end of it, so he can like look back and like realize like all the things that happened,
Yeah.
and one of his like interesting things about him was that he was a priest of a Ekankar, the religion was called, and he was like, gravitated towards this religion and this whole community, and they many similar reasons that like he is like instilled in me is like believing in karma and reincarnation is their big beliefs, and like their big belief is like everyone is a part of God, so treat everyone how you would want to be treated because you're interacting with another piece of God. It's like all these like different
Yeah.
aspects, and you can believe what you want to believe, but he was saying like he never regrets that decision because he gravitated towards it for just whatever life just threw himself life just threw that his way, and he clung on to it,
Yeah.
and that is something that is so special, and that happened when he was like 40, you know and it wasn't really like he didn't make money off of it or anything, but it's a very defining like characteristic of himself,
Yeah.
and what is so strange is that can you hear the people downstairs? Can you hear them? No, you can't. Okay.
No.
Okay, because
Can
they're
you
like
hear
singing.
people outside?
No, but like
Oh.
they're like singing and like shouting downstairs. Anyways, like I don't know if this talk show or YouTube or anything is like what I actually want to do, and so that is like what's scary is because I'm not sure about it. Was there ever a point
Yeah.
where you're like sure like this is what you want, or like where you're like maybe fashion isn't right for me?
When I was applying to schools, I like had a brief moment where I was like, maybe I should do art history, but it
Hmm.
was really only because I was having self doubt about if I was going to get into these schools,
Yeah.
and because my parents were pressuring me to do other things. Um, and so just kind of to like appease them, I guess I like applied to one art history program. But I it was just a small moment. I
Right.
didn't actually ever like fully give into it. And I think a lot of it was also doing it for other people, just so I could say I did it too.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
And that's like it's that's such a common thing is being pressured into doing. We were discussed this, and it's really hard to like. I feel like that you're kind of lucky that you have that. You've always loved fashion, and like just like how this girl in my math class was like, oh, you're lucky that you like something with the podcast
Yeah.
that I'm doing. It's like, no, I don't. I just am trying it out. Would
Yeah.
you respond the same way, like, oh, you're just trying it out? But you're not just trying it out. You're like actually doing it now. You know what I mean? Like you're certain in it.
Yeah. I do think I was kind of lucky in the way of like I always knew what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you don't have doubts or things like that. But I did always know what I wanted to do, and I do feel lucky for that. But I think that many other people probably do know what they want to do, and they're saying they don't because they have self doubt that they're letting get a hold of them,
Right. Right.
or they're not following their instincts and they're just doing what the people around them are doing or what their friends are doing, and they're not looking inside and being like, what is this hobby I've always really wanted to do, or this thing I've always really wanted to do, or this interest I have that I don't fully pursue because I don't think of myself as that kind of person.
Right. Right. And that's like the most important thing is that
Yeah.
the self doubt it's so rampant. I don't know why. Like there must be something about a lot of me thinks, oh, this must be because of the day and age that we live in with the technology and everything. Like self doubt must be rampant, but I'm certain like self doubt was rampant in the '90s and in the
Yeah.
'70s and the '40s. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these are the type of
I
things.
think
So,
definitely social media probably did like ramp it up
right.
just because the comparisons are always around us. Like you can tap into people being successful when you feel you're not at any time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do think it's just like a part of human nature too.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like it's being able to like realize that and be like, okay, hang on, I'm gonna not fall into that. And
Yeah.
it's really freaking like it's so hard. It's like honestly the hardest thing to face is like being confident in your like creative decision. Um, I feel like everyone wants to be creative in a way. Like this is me being creative right now. Obviously, fashion is creativity. Obviously, music is, and I think everyone has like a thing that they want to be creative with. And
Yeah.
um, once again, like I just know if I was in like an office, my days like I feel like my days would be whittling away, and like I'd be living in hell. Honestly, you know what I mean?
I
Um,
know that's so true.
I mean, and that's like I'm sure though, like, and never say never. Like, I'm sure I'm at one point I might be in an office, but like in that instance, it would be like a transition period. Like right now, I'm working at a pizza place. I deliver pizzas, and it's like I don't want to do that for the rest of my life, but it literally is a high school job and a transition period from me like going to college. You know what I mean? Like that's all it
Yeah.
is, and that's like this is literally like a couple months ago before I had any of these like ideas of like self-confidence or anything. Like I was like concerned. I was like, oh my god, like I don't want to be stuck here. But how freaking foolish is that? Because it's literally a high school job. You know, like these are the delusions I have sometimes, and you wouldn't just take it. You wouldn't realize. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah,
like
and I feel like too when I remember like feeling when I was like 18 and I had just moved to school and I was like so freaked out about the rest of my life.
mm-hmm.
It does feel like that feeling is gonna last forever, but it
Yeah,
doesn't. Or like that feeling of being stuck is gonna last forever, and it doesn't.
really. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like it gets better. You know, it's like
And in high school, it was really like, oh my God, I'm gonna be doing this. I mean, I liked one of my retail jobs, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna just be working in this boutique forever or whatever, driving around Providence forever. But it's like things change, and even if it feels like eternal, it won't be.
yeah, yeah, and that's like really difficult when you're in high school because high school is like this feels like everything. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
it's really hard to take yourself out of it because high school
Yeah.
is such like a microcosm of life. That's what my mom always says. Like,
And you haven't experienced anything else.
yeah,
Like you haven't had the chance to have like true freedom yet.
right. And that's why going back, like, I want to go to a crazy school in a different city. You know what I mean? I don't want to just like stay here. Um, and it feels like everyone should have that, but I can't judge for everyone. But
Yeah.
all right, well, we should wrap this up. But I like to end off each talk I have with I like to ask like, where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see yourself? Do you have any direction, or is that not how you don't like to think that way?
I mean, I have a general idea.
Mm,
Um, I would like to keep growing my brand to the point where I have parts of it that are handmade and parts of it that are produced. Like
mm-hmm.
eventually, I would like to have employees, um, maybe like a seamstress and an assistant designer or something.
Right.
Um, yeah, so where I see myself is continuing to grow my brand to the point where I can involve other people and um, really have it as like a multi-person like business.
Right. Does your brand have it? Is it just Megan O'Kane? Like,
Yeah.
it's like wait, that's what like fashion designers do, right? They just call it their own name.
A
Like,
lot of the time, yeah. I just feel like if you choose a name when you're so young, what if I don't like it in 10
right.
years? Like, at least my name will always, it's classic.
Yeah,
The name.
that's what people say. Like, oh, that you do a talk show. What's it called? And it's like I literally just like say a talk with whoever because I don't want to like settle on a name right now. Like it seems like I don't
Yeah.
have a good idea. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool being able to talk to you because you're on your way to have that, and you're making the right moves and living the life to live that and have these employees that you're talking about and live that future that you want, which is so cool. And anybody I've talked to before they've always been like my age in high school still, and
Yeah.
so like you want these things and we're driven. You know, the other kids I've talked to have been driven too, but it's just like kind of seems like it's based in nothing, and like you actually have the history for that, and you have the future. It looks right for you, and it's like so exciting.
Thank
That's
you.
really awesome. All right, well,
Oh, and also, I forgot one more thing.
oh yeah,
I would also eventually like to have a store.
oh yeah, a store on in New York on the
Yeah.
street. Yes. How many like who is like your idol for fashion? Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I love Cardin from the 60s. I love Mary Quant, also from a 60s
You know
designer.
what's
Uh,
bad? I don't know any of these names. I just don't.
yeah, I love Jeremy Scott, who designs for Moschino now.
How old is he?
Um, he's like, I think he's in his late 30s, maybe early 40s.
Dang, so
My
but that's still young.
teacher,
That's still pretty young.
my thesis teacher used to like intern for him.
That's awesome. And so
Yeah,
like what was the path? Do you ever like look at the path that these guys took to like become where they are?
yeah, and I mean, some of the path does involve like kind of similar to what I'm doing. And like some of them did have their own stores and
Right.
um Yeah, so I think that that is like a promising path, and it is interesting to read about how other people got where they are and stuff.
Right, and that's like the thing. Like, once again, I YouTube and everything. Like, this is I like making little videos. I've always thought it was really cool, and I kind of realized um, there's one YouTuber that I really like. He's 22. He actually lives in New York City, and so he started making videos when he was like 15 or something, and
Oh, wow.
and it's like videos that I've made or like type of videos that I made already, and just because he liked doing it, and then like transformed to this other thing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is a like hyper ADHD guy who like was self conscious about I was like, oh wait, like I could probably do that too. Like it's like, and so I see like why don't I just try that and like maybe I could
Yeah,
like mold it into what I want.
that's
Anyways,
amazing.
yeah. Anyways, I gotta go. Write a college essay and everything, and I'm sure you have to go do important things. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you sitting down and talking for an hour and a half. It was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Thank
was
you
like,
so much. Reach out to me if you ever have any questions or anything.
yeah, I will. Yeah, I really appreciate it. All
I
right.
was also thinking you could reach out to Anna about psychology because that's part of what she does at school.
Wait, really? Is
Yeah.
she still in school?
Now she's in grad school for psychology, I believe,
Where is she at?
in Michigan State.
Oh, wow. Is she like in Michigan right now, or is she like home?
Mhm.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
what?
she,
Really? Damn. Oh, I should hit her up. I should definitely ask.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's like psychology. The thing is with psychology, so many kids do it, but they only get the 4 year degree, and you can't really do anything with a 4 year degree besides be like in an asylum and like feed pills to people, which is like the worst.
yeah,
But I like research psychology, but you have to have like a doctorates or whatever. So like, but she's like on the path to do that. So I should definitely talk to
yeah.
her. Anyways, it was fun talking. Thank you for
Yeah,
sitting
thank
down.
you.
Yeah. Alrighty. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.